It is the 28th of June, 1519. The Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian is 6 months dead. 7 men have gathered in the cathedral at Frankfurt to elect his successor. 2 candidates stand for the crown: Charles, King of Spain; Francis, King of France. Both have spent the spring sending sealed chests of gold across Europe to bribe the 7 electors. By the time the votes are counted, more than 4 million florins have changed hands. The largest political bribe in human history to that date. But only one check is honored. Not from Madrid, not from Paris, from a single counting house in Augsburg, in southern Germany. Charles is elected unanimously. He becomes Charles V, the most powerful Christian monarch since Charlemagne. He owes his crown to a banker. The banker's name is Jakob Fugger, and by the time he dies, 6 years later, he will be the richest man who has ever lived. To understand how a German banker bought an empire, we have to go back 150 years. In 1367, a young weaver named Hans Fugger walks into the free imperial city of Augsburg with the clothes on his back and nothing else. He pays the entry fee. He buys a loom. He marries the daughter of the guildmaster. By the time he dies, the Fugger workshop is the largest in Augsburg. His sons trade Italian silks. His grandsons trade in spices, in copper, in silver. By 1450, the family is one of the richest in southern Germany. In 1459, Hans Fugger's great-grandson is born. His parents name him Jakob. He is the 10th of 11 children, destined by tradition for the church. His mother sends him to Rome at 14 to study Latin and Greek with the cardinals. But Jakob doesn't study theology. He studies the bookkeeping ledgers in the Vatican counting house. He studies the way the Italian banks move gold from Genoa to London with a single sealed letter, the system the Medici inherited from the Templars. He returns to Augsburg with 2 skills the Germans have never seen: double-entry bookkeeping and how to lend to a king. When Jakob takes over the family bank in 1485, the Habsburg Archduke of Austria, Sigismund, is broke. Mining wars have drained his treasury. He needs gold, and he has nothing to offer for it, except mountains. Jakob proposes a deal no German banker has ever made. The Fuggers will lend Sigismund whatever he needs. As collateral, they take the rights to his silver mines in Tyrol and his copper mines in Hungary. It is the first time in European history that a private bank takes mineral rights as collateral for sovereign debt. Within a decade, the Fuggers control more than half of Europe's silver production. Their copper is shipped to every dockyard from Lisbon to Constantinople. Bronze cannons, bronze nails, bronze coinage. When Sigismund's nephew Maximilian becomes Holy Roman Emperor, the Habsburg dynasty itself runs on Fugger silver. Every imperial campaign, every royal wedding, every diplomatic mission, funded by a single Augsburg counting house. By 1500, Jakob is 41 years old. The Fuggers control the largest commercial empire north of the Alps. And there is one institution richer than the emperor, older than the empire, that still wants Fugger credit: the Catholic Church. In 1500, the Fuggers open a permanent office in Rome. The Pope at the time is Alexander VI, a Borgia, a notorious spender. The papal treasury runs on a constant overdraft from the Italian banks. But the Borgia popes have a habit of dying suddenly, and the Italian banks have started demanding higher and higher rates. Jakob undercuts them all. The Fuggers will lend at 6%. They will handle every Vatican transfer from Lisbon to Vienna, and they will collect the proceeds of one particular church product that has just been industrialized: indulgences. For a price, the medieval Catholic Church will sell you a written certificate that reduces your time in purgatory and the time of any soul you choose. The Fuggers handle the sales, take a percentage, and remit the rest to Rome. In 1517, an ambitious German named Albert of Brandenburg buys his archbishopric on a Fugger loan. To repay it, he is granted the right to sell indulgences across northern Germany. The Fuggers send their best salesman, Johann Tetzel, who roams the countryside shouting his famous slogan: "As soon as a coin in the coffer rings, a soul from purgatory springs." A young Augustinian monk named Martin Luther hears him. On the 31st of October, He nails 95 theses to a church door in Wittenberg. The Reformation begins, bankrolled accidentally by the richest banker in Europe. 2 years later, Maximilian dies. The crown of the Holy Roman Empire, which has been worn by Habsburg for 66 years, goes back into the hands of 7 electors. The job pays nothing. The empire is broke. But the title still names whoever holds it the leader of Christendom. Charles, the 19-year-old grandson of Maximilian, already king of Spain, wants the crown to consolidate the family dynasty. Francis I of France wants it to break Habsburg encirclement. They both arrive at the same conclusion. The electors are viable. For 6 months, gold floods across Europe. Charles spends 850,000 florins on bribes. Francis spends almost $1 million. The archbishops, the dukes, the king of Bohemia, every elector takes from both sides. But Francis pays in promises, future pensions, dowries, lands he doesn't yet hold. Charles pays in cash, or more precisely, Jakob Fugger pays in cash on Charles's behalf. The bills of exchange flow from the counting house in Augsburg. Every elector knows that a Fugger note can be cashed anywhere in Europe within a week. A French promise cannot. On the 28th of June, 1519, the 7 electors meet in Frankfurt. They vote unanimously for Charles. He becomes Charles V, the first man in 8 centuries to rule an empire that stretches from Vienna to Peru. 6 years later, Jacob will remind him in a letter, "It is well known that your imperial majesty could not have acquired the Roman crown without me." He is not exaggerating. At Jakob Fugger's death in 1525, the family fortune is estimated at 2.1 million florins, roughly 2% of the entire economy of Europe. To put that in modern terms, at the peak of his wealth, Jeff Bezos was worth about 0.7% of American GDP. Elon Musk reached about 0.8. Jakob Fugger was 3 times richer. The Fugger network at this moment runs offices in Augsburg, Antwerp, Lisbon, Krakow, Budapest, Rome, and Madrid. It controls 1/3 of European silver, 1/4 of European copper, half of the Transalpine spice trade. It funds the Habsburg Wars in Italy. It bankrolls Magellan's voyage. It lends to Henry VIII of England and to Suleiman the Magnificent, the Sultan it is supposedly arming the Habsburgs to fight. Jakob himself dies childless. He leaves the bank to his nephew, Anton. He also leaves something more unusual. In his hometown of Augsburg, he has built out of his own pocket 52 terrace cottages for the city's poor. The rent, 1 Rhenish florin per year, about €0.50 in modern money. He calls it the Fuggerei. 500 years later, it is still operating, still charging 1 florin a year. The first social housing on earth, built by the man who bribed the Holy Roman Empire. Anton inherits the empire and runs it like Jacob did. He lends, and lends. To Charles V, to Philip II, to the wars in Italy, in the Netherlands, against the Turks. By 1546, the Habsburgs owe the Fuggers more than 4 million florins. But Charles is bleeding silver. The wars are too many. The Spanish silver from the New World is arriving, but not fast enough. In 1557, the unthinkable happens. Philip II of Spain, Charles's son, declares the first sovereign default in modern European history. The crown will not pay its debts. The Fugger Bank loses millions overnight. Anton, now 64, scrambles to recover. He extends new loans on the assumption that the king must pay something eventually. He restructures, he pleads, he lends again. Philip defaults a second time in 1575, a third in 1596, a fourth in 1607. Each default takes another fortune from the Fugger Bank. A Genoese banker watching from Madrid writes the lesson in his ledger. He who lends to only one king is no banker. He is a hostage. By 1607, the great-grandchildren of Jakob Fugger are losing their estates one by one. The Augsburg counting house closes its doors. The Vatican account passes to the Genoese. The mining concessions revert to the crown. The richest family in the history of Europe has been bankrupted by the empire they bought. The lesson the Fuggers learned: the next generation of bankers built into the system. The Genoese, who replaced the Fuggers as the Habsburgs' bank, diversified across multiple Italian city-states from the start. The Dutch merchant houses in the 17th century refused to lend more than a fixed percentage of any one government's revenue. 300 years after Jakob, a Frankfurt banker named Mayer Amschel Rothschild sent his 5 sons to 5 different European capitals: London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, Frankfurt, for exactly the same reason. If one sovereign defaulted, the others would survive. Modern central banks regulate sovereign exposure for the same reason. The Basel Banking Accords have an entire chapter on it. The IMF Charter has a clause about it. Every credit rating agency on Earth maintains a separate sovereign risk model. All of it descends from one trauma: the trauma of an Augsburg banker who watched his family's fortune disappear into a single broken promise from a single Spanish king. The Fugger still operates. Tourists still walk the streets of Augsburg. The little chapel where Jakob is buried is preserved. His tomb carries the inscription he chose himself: honor to God. To Jakob Fugger of Augsburg, an ornament of his class and his country, equal to none in the acquisition of incalculable wealth and in the relief of the poor. 200 years after Jakob Fugger's death, in a small banking house in Frankfurt, a man named Mayer Amschel Rothschild calls his 5 sons into a room. He gives each of them a sealed letter. He gives each of them a city: London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, Frankfurt. He tells them, never lend to only one king. He learned that lesson by reading about a banker in Augsburg. Empires of Money. Episode 3. Follow the money.